Hi folks, John Dunn here, RPG freelancer, publisher behind Meliorvia. I am up here today at Immortals Inc. with Mikey.
What is going on today, John?
Well, Mikey, today I wanted to bring up a project that is related to your scholastic mastery.
Oh, you couldn't be talking about what I'm thinking.
I probably am. We are going to delve into the works of Tolkien once more.
Dude.
And I know you've had some free time, so I'm sure you've probably read everything he's ever written by now.
You know what? Started with The Hobbit, ending with The Hobbit.
I think you've seen some of the films.
Yeah, actually got a DVD collection.
All right,
of the
that's
trilogy,
right, yeah.
And started the first one, haven't finished it at all.
Okay, well, we're going to challenge that level of
So,
expertise then.
I'm very, very knowledgeable.
All right. So there is an iconic dungeon that features rather heavily in Lord of the Rings. Did you get to that point?
No, but
Okay.
should I guess, or is it not even worth the
Well,
time?
Moria is
Ooh.
the iconic dungeon. And recently, Free League has come out with 2 versions of the Moria sourcebook. This one is for the One Ring. This one is for 5th edition. The content is pretty much identical, just the rule systems are a little bit different.
Nice.
So we're going to focus on talking about the 5e one today, though really most of what we're saying is relevant for both.
And
But
you know,
I like this cover more.
I like that cover too.
All right.
And I did play Shadow of Mordor. I don't know if you ever heard that game before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I played that game heavily, and I probably know more about that than, it's pretty pathetic.
That's okay. We all have our priorities, right? So Gareth Hanrahan was the design lead on this. We have mentioned his name before when we talked about Knights, Black Agents, and Tales from Ariador, also for Lord of the Rings. This is a Free League production, and they did have a big team of folks working on it. And I do want to mention there is a really cool map of Moria that's featured in the end papers, and it's nice because you get it from both angles, vertically and horizontally, because Moria goes beneath the mountains and delves particularly deep. And so you can see how far down things are going at the same time as you can look at the overall layout.
Oh, nice.
It's a cool setup map. Getting into the text, though, first section's an introduction, talks about the origins and the scope of Moria as a dwarven city and really kind of a kingdom. Mentions that there are 6,000 years of history of Moria, so this is a place that has been around for a very long time. That's, older than the pyramids, I believe.
Yeah, that's pretty old.
So yeah, it's been around for a while. But the last 1,000 years, orcs have pretty much held Moria. And, the dwarves are still pissed about that. It's, it's only 1,000 years. The first actual chapter of content is, "And at the gates the trumpets rang." And this is talking about using Moria in your campaign. So how you want to use this massive, iconic dungeon or dwarven kingdom or, hidden land, basically, within your Lord of the Rings campaign. Now, you can just use it as a dungeon crawl. The characters can go in there looking for gold or mithril or lost secrets. It could be a travel route like we saw in Fellowship of the Rings, where the characters use it as a shortcut of sorts. Or maybe the characters are dwarves or allies of the dwarves and just want to go in there and get some revenge on the people that are dwelling in their ancestral homes. There's a big section on talking about how your characters are connected to Moria. So maybe their patrons have a connection to it, or maybe it's just part of their personal goals. And then we get into the legends and the themes of Moria. So what parts of Moria are iconic and what things might have drawn either the characters or their patrons to have a strong interest in visiting it. Next chapter in the book is Journeys in the Dark. And this talks about the journey system, which is kind of a big part of the Lords of the Rings game engine, where you've got the journey being a big part of every adventure and how the travel goes. And so they explicitly spell out how you want to use that journey system when you're deep underground and really fairly isolated from what we usually think about as civilization and what kind of things you might encounter down there. There's also a section on eye awareness. So if Sauron sees you and how that's going to go when you're, beneath a mountain. As things go and as the characters are exploring throughout this really endless dungeon complex filled with limitless villains, not every one of those encounters has to play out exactly the same. After that, we get into fell foes. This is the monster section. You've got orcs, you've got dwarves, mostly who are slaves at this point. You've got the Balrog, but then you also have some undead and some beasts that are specific to dwelling deep beneath the surface.
Ooh.
Yeah, so, things that are a little different than what we've actually seen in the context of the films or the text. Next chapter is Mansions of the Dwarves, and this kind of breaks down a lot of the iconic landmarks that are within Moria, using that landmark system that, again, is a big part of the One Ring 2nd edition and Lord of the Rings RPG. And we get 26 different examples covering a range of difficulties, but it's worth pointing out, none of these are particularly easy encounters. You are going into Moria. It was a challenging location even for the Fellowship to go into. So maybe your first level characters aren't going to have a real easy time poking around in it, nor are your veteran characters particularly. After that, we get into the appendix. There's a discussion of historic expeditions into Moria and using them as campaign frameworks. So that could be just a whole different perspective on it if your characters perhaps are part of a large group effort trying to liberate Moria. We get a discussion of Mithril, some examples, magic items, dwarves of Novgorod and Belagost, which are other dwarven civilizations and how they might tie in. And then there's actually a 35-page section in here that I thought was really striking, which is a solo play in Moria. So if you don't have a game group that you want to sit down and run this with, and you just kind of want to hang out and explore it really independently, kind of a choose your own adventure thing, there is a full system here for assembling your party and just having that party go adventure and explore the depths of Moria. I thought it was a really cool, well done bit that just gives you some added value and gives you something you can do when you can't get a group of friends together to play through this.
That is cool because, think about how many people either want to just get a taste of what's to come or just not many people have a big group to play
and
with,
even if you're somebody that plays online, you might not always have that whole group there.
I mean, how many games do that? I mean, that's
not a ton. I thought it was well implemented, and just kind of a neat added bonus here that gives you some extra value. So speaking of value, these are both about 235-page books. I think the One Ring version might be a few pages shorter. They are hardcover. They are full-color interiors. They've got those cool maps in the endnotes. Free League Publishing, $45. We have both iterations here on the shelf at Immortals Inc. or available at immortalsinc.com.
Very well said, John. I think I'm going to watch another 30 minutes tonight because of this inspiration, so thank you for that.
Oh, I am happy to provide, Mikey. Till next time, folks, good gaming.